What is up, everybody, and welcome to Shooting the Shit Uncensored. I'm your host, the bald, the beard, the beautiful Piers Austin, and we are brought to you live by MWA Podcast Network. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I have an amazing guest on. It is none other than Shazza McKenzie. Now, Shazza is an Australian professional wrestler who's known all over the world. We're going to get her out very soon and talk about her amazing career so far. But first, let's talk about some of those amazing sponsors. First up is the wrestling universe. Now, let me tell you something, guys, about the wrestling universe, right? These guys are your one-stop shop for all your wrestling merchandise. They have all kinds of WWE, TNA, UFC, WCW, ECW, AEW, action figures, past and present. They carry t-shirts, wrestling cards, autographed 8x10s, masks, belts, and much, much more. They also do in-store signings with some of the biggest names in the wrestling world. So if you're in Queens, New York, go and check out the signings. They're absolutely amazing. I think they've actually got Kurt Angle coming up very soon, as well as Darby Allin. So make sure you check it out. All of their autographed items come with a certificate of authenticity. And guys, they ship internationally as well. So don't fear, if you're in Australia, you want to get your hands on some wrestling merch, head over to thewrestlinguniverse.com and they have got everything and anything that you'll be looking for. But guys, next up is healthvape.com. Now, healthvape.com offer a healthy vaping alternative. There is no nicotine, no artificial or nasty chemicals in their vapes, and they are vitamin infused. So make sure you go and get some of their pod products and their vape products. Use promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount on checkout. You will not be disappointed. Guys, I'm a former smoker. I'm now a vapor. This is, well, is that what they call a vapor? A person who vapes. But anyway, guys, my wife is on me. She wants me to give up the vape. This is the steps to me giving up the vape. I'm going to go to this and then hopefully I'll be on nothing. So it's a good step. But guys, also, if you're an athlete or someone you know is an athlete, you need to check out sleeves.com. Now, Sleeves offer an amazing range of products. They've got knee sleeves, they've got joggers, they've got tights, they've got headbands, they've got compression pants, compression shorts, compression socks. They've even got dirty boxes. Now, guys, they sent me some dirty boxes, and I gotta say, they are the most comfortable boxes that I own. So make sure you head over to sleeves.com, use promo code MWAPOD at checkout to get a 10% discount off your final purchase. But guys, I've also just got to make mention to some of the other shows that we've got here on the MWA Podcast Network. This week, well, not only just week, but every week, we bring you Killing the Business with former ECW original, the Kingpin, Angel Medina. Now, Angel is one guy, you can't really tell him what to say, what not to say. He's pretty hard to sort of reel back in. So, guys, if you want to hear him keeping it 100, no disrespect, Conan, but Angel lays it down. He tells everyone exactly his opinions on what's going on in the world of wrestling today, and breaking down some old storylines as well. So make sure you check that out. Guys, as well, you need to check out former WCW and TNA star Kiwi Alan Funk Show, Get Funked. That is every Thursday at 7 p.m. USA Eastern, which is Friday, 9 a.m. Australian time. Check that out. He's had on some amazing guests, such as guys from his power plant days like Chuck Palumbo, Mark Jindrak. He's had on Molly Holly. So make sure you check out his show every single week. And guys, I can't forget about the Dead Presidents with Knights of the Gimmick Table live every Sunday at 9 p.m. USA Eastern, which is Monday at 11 a.m. So make sure you tune in for those shows or catch the replays on YouTube, guys. You will not be disappointed. But I can see we got a few people in the chat here. We got Josh and Kyle here. But guys, without further ado, I'm going to bring out my guest, Shazza McKenzie. Shazza, thank you for coming on.
Hello, thank you for having me. Yay.
It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. I've wanted to have you on, for the longest time, Shazza, and I'm excited to have you on tonight. Thank you for giving up your time on a Tuesday night.
That's A-okay. There's not a whole lot going on at the moment, so I managed to fit you into the very, very busy lockdown schedule that I'm currently keeping.
Well, you know what? It's funny. Last lockdown last year, you seem to sort of get some notoriety on TikTok. Are we going to see a TikTok comeback for Shazza?
I feel like, so I want to get back into doing the dances, but my TikTok so like TikTok's algorithm is very specific to like what you like. And so like if you like a certain amount of things, that's what you see. So a year ago, I was seeing a lot of dances, and apparently I mustn't have been liking a lot of the dances, because now I barely get any dances. Now my like TikTok is all just babies. Even like, I don't have a baby. I don't want a baby, but I like looking at other people's cute babies doing cute things. So I'm on like baby talk is what I'll call it right now. So there's not like, so I don't really know the inspiration for the dances. I've got to get back onto like dance talk so that I can do some like, whoa stuff.
I tried doing the dance talk thing, and like I have 2 left feet, so it was just bad. I tried it for about a day or 2, and I was like, nope.
It's a lot of work.
It is, but also the editing. Like I've got friends that do it, and I'm just like, that is so much commitment.
Yeah, and I get it. Like if you put in a lot of work to it, sometimes your video might go viral, and then maybe you can make money, and you know, good things happen. But like the chances of that happening with how like ridiculously confusing and non-specific the TikTok algorithm is just so unlikely that it's just not even worth it.
Well, you know, it's funny, like a guy I know over in the States, he was doing like these wrestling TikToks, like just doing like famous entrances and stuff like that. And like he just blew up, and he was on the bump like a couple of months ago.
I love that.
I was just like,
I love the bump, like, because the guests are all like, the people that are on it are always just so random, and it's like how did RJ City end up on the bump like every single week? Like how did that happen in life? Like I love it so much.
But you know, getting into your career, Shazza, because you've been wrestling for a while now, and you know, when did you first get into it? Like what was it that really drew you into pro wrestling?
So I started watching wrestling in 2004 when I was already like a teenager, an adult, not an adult. I was like 16. I was like 15, turning 16 when I started watching. So a lot later than most people get into wrestling. Basically, I was a bit of a deadbeat teenager. I was a bit of a wild child running around being a bit of an idiot. And I was dating this much older gentleman that I should not have been dating as a 15-year-old, but, you know, hindsight. And I used to spend my weekends over at his house because, again, hindsight, that's probably a stupid thing to have done. But he really wanted to watch wrestling. And it was back when Raw used to air on Friday night and SmackDown would air on Saturday night. We'd had that like super weird long delay. And he'd always be like, oh, I want to watch the wrestling. I want to watch the wrestling. I'd be like, no, that's gross. I don't care. Like, it's just oiling men in their underwear. Like, I don't want nothing to do with it. And I don't know, so one day he managed to convince me to watch it. And he put it on, and I saw Trish Stratus, and I just went, wow, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my life, because she was just like a fucking badass. Can I swear on here? It says uncensored. Censored.
Absolutely. It's got shit in the name.
Yeah, but there's an asterisk over the shit. And I was like, oh, wait, should I say? But yeah, so she's fucking, like, I saw Trish Stratus and I was like, this woman is like gorgeous. She's like not taking shit from anyone. She's kicking ass. Like, it was just so like, I was like, this is amazing. And I hadn't seen anything like it. And I, like, my whole childhood, I was like a performer, and I think I always wanted to be a performer. And so I think I found like that was like what like hooked me in. Like, I'm not an athlete by any means, but like that hooked me in. And then suddenly I was like, yeah, I'm going to be an athlete. And then from like the day I watched like that one episode, I like literally just stopped leaving my house and just started watching wrestling every single day for the rest of, like, I was like, oh, I don't need a life anymore. It's just wrestling. I'm going to be a wrestler. I like broke up with the guy, lost all my friends, dropped out of high school. I was just like, no, just wrestling, please. That's all I care about. Do not follow my life. Like,
what a crazy entry, like what a crazy way to find pro wrestling. But you know, you mentioned the showmanship aspect of it, which I find that like probably draws a lot of people into it as well. The sort of larger than life characters, the gimmicks, and also, you know, obviously the theatrics of it as well. But how far after that did you like go, you know what, it's time that I give this a try?
So I was in year 10 when I first found wrestling. And so at the end of year 10, I dropped out of high school because I was going to get a job. I was going to save up all my money and I was going to go to Canada and I was going to train with Lance Storm. Like, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. But then I was 16 and I dropped out of high school and I got a job. And then suddenly I was a 16-year-old with a full-time income and had so much expendable income that I just bought stupid shit that I absolutely didn't need. Like, just bought like wrestling figures, and like I have like my parents every like second week will be like, so are you going to come pick up your wrestling figures? And I'll be like, maybe maybe next week. Because I bought so many wrestling figures. I bought all the DVDs. I was horrible at saving money. So I didn't go to Canada and train at Lance Storm's. Instead, when I was 19, so it took like 2.5 years of being free from high school for me to go. And when I was 19, I went and started training. But it was also my parents wouldn't drive me to training, and I didn't have I got my license so that I could go to wrestling training. Like, I got I got my P's like a week before wrestling training started, because my parents were like, we're not driving you to wrestling training, because wrestling training was out in Minto, and I live like on the Hornsby side of Sydney. And my parents were like, we absolutely are not driving you to that. That's not going to happen.
It's like a 90-minute drive there and back.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I still live in the same area and it's still the same freaking drive I do every week. But for some reason, like, I don't know, it's my life now. I'm just used to driving for like in peak hour for like 2.5 hours sometimes to get to training, but that's okay. I digress. It's part of life. But yeah, like that's why I got a license, and that's why like what got me off my ass to get a license so I could go be a wrestler, and like went and started training. I started training at AWF originally in 2007, and then moved to PWA at the start of 2009. Like, I started wrestling in 2008, and then I had my first match at PWA in January 2009, and then pretty much after that I just moved to PWA and never looked back.
So, you know, obviously, you know, when you started out at AWF with TNT, like, you know, is that where you learned mainly the fundamentals and how the sort of basics of the matches work? Yeah,
so I completed so AWF has like a tiered system of like a, what is it? It's like beginner. It has different names, but it's like beginners, intermediate, advanced, and then you're a wrestler. So you like you do at the end of each course, which is like a 3-month course at the time, you do the course, you do a test, and then you graduate to the next course. You do the course, you do a test, you graduate to the next one, et cetera, et cetera. And I was the first female that had to, but not that wrestling is, so in wrestling, when there's a female comes along to a wrestling school, they usually, back then especially, because it was such a rarity, there would be this big urge to like push them through the school and not actually have to do the training to get them on shows. So I was actually the first female that actually completed the whole course before they got on shows. But at the same time, I got to debut as a wrestler. I didn't debut as a valet. Like, my first AWF show and my first show, I was a wrestler. I wasn't someone's valet. So
was that important to you at the time to be a wrestler and not come in as a valet or a manager?
No, because I actually, when I signed up for wrestling school, because I'm absolutely not athletic in the smallest part, like there's nothing in me is athletic. I have to work for everything athletic that I do. I have to work for, and like, I mean, I have to work my fucking ass off for just to be able to do a leapfrog, which I still can't do. But so I when I went into wrestling school, I went in being like, I really just want to be a manager. Like, I didn't think I'd ever be a wrestler. I just assumed, especially also because this was back when like women on TV were predominantly managers. Like, there was the women's championship was there, and like the girls were kicking ass and stuff. But I was like, I'm not that tough, so I'm probably not going to be able to do that. I'll just be like Stacy Keibler. For some reason, I thought I was an equivalent of Stacey Keibler and Tori Wilson for some reason. But that was like, I was like, well, I guess that's like what I'll do. But then like I didn't say it to anyone, so I just did the wrestling training, and then they were like, "Yep, so now you're having a match," and then I was like, "Oh, cool." And then but once you start, like it's addictive. Like once you start taking bumps, you're like, this is it. Like I need more, and then it gets 14, 15 years later now, and you think, oh my god, why did I take so many bumps? Everything hurts.
But how did you who was the first match against?
My first match was against Harley Wonderland. So,
wow.
Yeah. So she started at AWF as well. And so, like I was saying, how they do like the 3-month courses, she was in the 3-month course before me. So my first match was like her 5th match, I think. So we were very like, our whole careers were kind of very together. Like, it was a lot when she retired the other week. Was it like last month or whatever? It's very devastating because that's like the one person that had female wise, especially, that has been with me since the start of my career. Like there's guys like Bonzer and Concrete and Hoffman and JT Robinson that I've known since like the very first day that I walked into wrestling school. But like Wendy's retiring was a big one for me because I was like, oh, that's we didn't get to have like our last one. Maybe she'll come back and we'll get to have our last one because I feel like I need closure. I need to have one last one.
I mean, did you guys have many matches throughout her career?
Oh yeah, lots, gazillions, so many. Because you have to remember back in like when we started, so we both started having matches in 2008. There was maybe 10 girls in all of Australia, like the entire country. And specifically in Sydney, like there was 3 or 4, like, so intergender wrestling didn't exist. It existed, but like it wasn't happening. So like I would have had, like 30, 40 matches with her over the years. Wow. Easily.
And, you mentioned like women's wrestling at the time was, it definitely wasn't as big as what it is now. And I think over years, women's wrestling has really evolved to be, in par with the male counterparts. And you're starting to see women in main events for, massive shows like WrestleMania, for example, where like 15 years ago, that if someone said that to a wrestling fan, you go, really? But now it's completely, it's justified with the talent and the commitment that you see from female talent. I personally believe in Australia, we have some of the best female wrestlers in the world, hands down.
Oh my God. We absolutely so Australian women's wrestlers and the Texas women's wrestlers. Those are like, I don't know what is in the water in Texas. I don't know what is in the water in Australia, but for some reason, Texas women and the Australian women are just on another another level. Like not me personally, but like just whenever I see especially like the new girls coming up that are just getting so good so quick. And it's just like, oh my God, like, how is this happening? Like you're too good. Just stop, please. You're being too good. I don't like it. It's too much.
But that's the thing. Like you having a hand in training some of these young ladies that are coming through as well, while still being an active performer yourself. Like, how do you juggle the coaching side of it as well as the wrestler side of it as well? Like, I'm assuming it shows some of the newer talent are coming to you and saying, "Hey, how'd my match go?" and trying to get feedback. Like for you on show day, how do you juggle your match plus trying to help and be there to give advice to others,
I think it's just, we usually have, you'll make sure that you're at the monitor for certain people's matches. And like, if someone's asking for you to watch their match, then you're there for that match. And I think it's just sort of juggling and realizing you can't watch everyone's match because you have to also focus on your own stuff, but just making sure that people are aware of that. And especially now that we have streaming, like most shows I'll watch it back, and then when we have training the following week, like there's things in there that I can be like, oh hey, this is something that we need to work on or something. Or like the coaches collectively, we can all like watch the show back and be like, hey, everyone was being a bit like not great with their strikes. We should really focus on strikes this week, like to make sure like everyone's back up to scrap with that stuff. And like, so I think having everything very easily visible, like on live streaming now makes things a lot easier, because you don't like, you can watch people's matches straight like live, but like there's not the same level of stress as like, 10 years ago when we were absolutely never going to watch those matches ever again, because they're just gone and missed and lost to the hands of time because no one was recording them.
Oh, 100%. But, I wanted to know as well. So, I think your wrestling name Shazza is probably the most Australian wrestling name, probably next to Dazza, who I interviewed. And I think I said the same thing. I think you guys would probably make an amazing tag team, Dazza and Shazza. But, how did you come up with the name Shazza McKenzie? Like, what was it about that particular name that drew to you and building that character?
So I hated the name. I absolutely hated it. Did not want it. It was given to me. Absolutely did not want to be Shazza. Like, was very adamant that I did not want to be Shazza. It was given to me by TNT. There's some movie, I don't know the movie, some movie where there's a character called Shazza McKenzie. So Shazza McKenzie was from that. I don't know. Because I was brought in and part of like a stable called, oh God, what were we called? Australian Made, I think we were called. I don't even know. It was like Bonza, Hoffman, and Scotty Club. So, and we were like, and my gear was like green and gold, and I was like, I wanted to be a cheerleader. I didn't want to be a like bogan. I was like, no, I'm a cheerleader. Like, that's what I want to be. And he was like, yeah, but you're Shazza McKenzie. And I was like, okay, so I'm just going to be a bogan cheerleader then, I guess. It was like, I kind of always wanted to be a cheerleader growing up, watching movies and stuff. I'd be like, oh, that's so cool. But like, cheerleading's not a thing in Australia. So I when I was like creating my wrestling character, I was like, I want to be a cheerleader. Duh. But I hated it. I absolutely hated being Shazza McKenzie. But now, many years later, I wouldn't change it for a thing, because if someone says, oh, hey, like, we're going to go watch Shazza wrestle, like, there's no confusion. Like, it's Shazza McKenzie. Like, there's no other Shazza. It's like, if you're talking about Shazza in wrestling or Shaz in wrestling, Shazza, whatever, like, they know they're talking about me. And it gives me that uniqueness. And also, like, Americans just don't even understand that it's like a bogan word. So they're just like, Shazza? What an interesting name. Shazza? And I'm like, yes, sure, that's what you can call me.
It's funny because I've interviewed quite a few American talents from over there, and every time like your name gets mentioned, they're like, oh yeah, I like Shazza McKenzie, and I'm like, Shazza? I'm like, Shazza, mate. And we spend 10 minutes just going, I'm like, they're like, how do you say? I'm like, Shazza.
Shazza.
Shazza. I know they try and make it like more like
they eloquent. Make it fancy. I'll tell a funny story about that. So after I did the AEW All Out, the Casino Battle Royale, the commentators, I went up to JR before the show and said it's Shazza. Like, I try, when I'm in America, I do try to like make sure people know. And I did say it, but there's a million things happening. Pronouncing my name correctly on that night is not a priority. They did end up saying Shazza a lot on the commentary, and Twitter was going off at them like, what are you saying? It's not Shazza. It's not Shazza, it's Shazza. And so then a few days later, they were filming the they were doing like road twos for Dynamite. Now at that point, I don't remember exactly. And they were doing like a recap of the Battle Royale, and they were filming it. And I just got this message from Cody Rhodes that just said, is it Shazza or Shazza? And I was like, because like he was typing it. So he was like, is it Shazza or Shazza in caps? And I was like, what? Shazza. I don't know how to explain this to you via a text message. but somehow I managed to, because then when they released the video, they said Shazza correctly. I was like, good.
But you mentioned going over there for AEW, and you've had little bits of stints over there, being a former Shimmer champion, working for Shine and NXT, and when I interviewed Jordan, he said that you guys went over to the US. When you went over there, did you have this much attention already on you? Because it just seems like overnight Shazza McKenzie in America was one of the biggest names in wrestling for a period of time.
So I think I had a pretty decent notoriety, I think, over there. In 2018, I kind of laid the groundwork. I'd stayed a few extra weeks here and there. And in 2018, I did 4 trips to the US, and I made sure that every time I went over there that I wrestled for a new company, at least one new company. That's always my goal. Every time I go to a new country or whatever, I have to wrestle for one new place, because that just builds you're not your brand, and also your connections and who you know and who sees you and everything like that. So I did a lot of groundwork in 2018. And then at the end of 2018, after Jordan and I had gotten married, we had all our money saved up for our honeymoon. And bless his soul, I was like, hey, so we could go and go to Hawaii, whatever, have a really nice holiday, real nice honeymoon, it'd be real cool. Or I could quit my job and we could go to America for 3 months and be really, really poor on this money, and we could try and be wrestlers. And somehow I managed to convince him that we would go be wrestlers. So so when we did our trip in 2019, we were there for 3 months, and I hustled my ass off. I was in the car every weekend. I think people think I was getting flown around everywhere or whatever, but no, I was doing the drives. I was in the cars. If they were hey, yeah, we'll take you, here's your booking fee, but to get there, you're going to need to get in this car for 17 hours and drive overnight straight from your last gig to this one. I was yeah, hell yeah, I'm there. Whatever it takes. I need to get, this is what all the guys do in America. I'm no fucking different. I just happen to be Australian, but if that's what it's going to take to get me from that show to this next show, so that I can get to this next show, so that I can make this money and make this name for myself, I'm in that car. I'm on that plane. I'm wherever you need me to be. I'm there. I drove to Beyond Wrestling was doing Uncharted Territory every Thursday night during that time. I was at Uncharted Territory pretty much every week that I was there, and I was only booked once. I was there to hustle. I was there to meet the people, get to know people, get my name out there, tell them that I was there, and do what I had to do so that I was able to build that brand for myself, so that people knew who I was. And I already had connections with AEW before that, so I knew that the AEW stuff was coming up, and I was trying to build my brand to make sure that I was was worth what they were worth whatever opportunity I was going to get, because as an international, we cost a lot more than American, so we have to be 500 times better than an American, because if they can find an American that does exactly what I do, they can pay that person half the price, because they don't have to pay for a work visa and they don't have to pay a minimum salary to prove that they're not destroying the American economy, because it's all very complicated. So, and I know that. I know I have to be I can't just be okay. I have to be undeniably, they need me. There's no denying it. And that's sort of where my brain was and where my mindset was. And I was freaking G'd up to do it all again last year. And then the world ended.
Yeah, world came to a screeching halt. But as far as doing the indies over in the States, comparing it to, wrestling here in Australia, is it night and day difference, or is it very, very similar?
It's similar. It is similar, but it is very different as well at the same time. It's very I think because here, people wrestle once, maybe twice a weekend on a good weekend. You have like weeks to, you know what your match is going to be weeks in advance. You're thinking this is like this. For some people, maybe you'll wrestle twice a month at like, especially now, like pandemic, post pandemic, it's much, we wrestle much less than we wrestled prior. So every match feels like it's your last match, and you have to like, and you've overthought it, and you've thought everything that you could possibly think about for this one match. Whereas in America, it's like, just fucking show up. Like, okay, you're in this like scramble match. The show's already started. You're in two matches. Get your gear on. Call a match. Figure it out there. It's all going to turn to shit. But you just got to make it work. And it's just chaos. It just go. Like, but I learned so much in like, there's so much that I learn in my experiences in America that I can't learn here. Well, I could learn here if we were wrestling a lot more regularly, but like, it's just, what Steph would always say, and I 100% agree with this, is like 2 weeks in America on the independent scene in America is like 6 months to a year in Australia, because you learn so much, because it's so chaotic, and you're working with so many different people that you've never met, and you don't know anything about them, and you've just got to fucking figure it out.
And what would you say is like one of the biggest things that you walked away from that stint in the US learning? Like, what was the biggest eye-opening experience for you?
Oh gosh, for me, so I'd already done a stint, so back in 2012, I had one of my other mental breakdowns where I quit my job and I got a stupid loan. I was single at the time, so it didn't ruin Jordan's life this time. And I'd gone to America in 2012 for 2 months and lived there and done this all as well then. But it was a very different time, because it was like Twitter and stuff existed, but not to the way it exists now.
Sure.
And it was my first time over there, so no one knew who I was. But I still hustled very hard to get what I did get. Like, I ended up getting at least a show every weekend, which is more than, most people get when on their first trip over there. So I'd already sort of had all the like growing pains and learning pains of going over there. And like, by the time I went over there for 3 months, that was my, I think, like 16th or 17th trip to America.
Wow.
Yeah. I've wasted a lot of my life. I've put my life on hold to chase wrestling. Like, if it wasn't for the pandemic, I would probably still be living in my parents' freaking granny flat, because I was like, all my money has to go to wrestling, like has to go to new gear. It has to go to, I have custom theme music. It has to go to 8x10s photo shoots. It has to go to producing merchandise. It has to go to making sure that like everything is ready, and that my hair's done, and that my Botox is done, and my eyebrows are done, and my nails are done, because there's a certain way I have to look, because you have to look like a star. And I don't think people understand just how much it all costs. So there's a lot that goes into it. I forgot what I was rambling about, but basically, I don't think I learned anything. I think I was already by that point very readily prepared. I don't think I could have been more prepared than I was. I think the next time, like, because all I really want is for borders to open and to have one last freaking like indie run in America. For me, at this point, it's just to prove to myself that I can do it, because having this pandemic and having all this time away from it, and like watching what it feels like the world is just like passing you by, and all these people are progressing so quickly, and we're just stuck, especially now that we're in another lockdown. For me, it's like I need to do it for myself. Like I need to just be able to prove that I can still do it, and that I'm not an old piece of shit with a crap body that can't do crap that life. I don't know. I'm sorry, this is coming off very depressing.
No, not at all. I mean, but like, what is it that makes you think that way? Like, obviously, like, you know, you can still go in the ring, you can still, you know, do amazing promos and look
But
great
can
doing
I?
it.
I don't know. I don't know if I can, because I don't like, I feel I watch everyone around me and I just think, oh my God, they're so good. Like, and I'm just like, I can't hang with this. But I want to. And I like, so I keep working, I keep trying, and I have to keep working hard at everything, because I don't know if I always want to be considered one of the best. So if I don't feel like I would be seen in that level, like, that stresses me out. So I need to be up I need to be at the top. I need to be one of, like, I want to be the best. Yes, JT, our bodies are going to fall apart. It's very upsetting.
But you know what? To be honest, you know, like, I found, you know, the change in character that you did recently, where you sort of snapped and you went from, you know, the character of why can't I win a match? Why can't I win a match? To just like snapping and this being like this cold-hearted, you know, to me was one of the best promos and best sort of turns that I'd seen in wrestling. And for you to do that, to go from being like this one type of character to something completely into a different, you know, atmosphere. Yeah. It's refreshing to see. So there's definitely stuff that you can still offer the business.
Well, yeah, no, exactly. And that's very much why I wanted to do it. It's something that I've been pushing to do for a long time, that got kind of screwed around because there was a pandemic, but that's okay. And so to finally get to do it, I feel like there's so much I want to do with it. And so I like, getting stuck here in home, I'm like, that there's so many, like, I felt like we were just starting, like, we were just getting that rhythm, we were just getting going with all the new things, and like, I was just like about to hit a new like level and remind everyone who the fuck I was, and then the world ended, so that's okay.
But to me, in that promo, you did that in that promo. When you attacked them and you turned, like, I think that was a pretty big statement that you made, you know. And yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes, because it was something different. It was something unique from you that we hadn't seen.
Yeah, because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So got to switch it up.
100%. But, you know, one of the things I wanted to ask you as well, as far as like the indies over in the States, where was like the couple of the favorite places that you really enjoyed working over there?
Well, my absolute favorite place is Shimmer, of course, because Shimmer has been my home from day one of being over there. I've wrestled there for like 7 or 8 years now, multiple times a year since then. And it's like, when you start out as a women's wrestler, like, wrestling for Shimmer is sort of always a goal, I think for most women's wrestlers. So to have wrestled for Shimmer, to have held a belt at Shimmer, and to have like had singles main events at Shimmer, like, those are all like bucket list things that I get to tick off and say that I've done, and that's like pretty freaking cool. So Shimmer will always be number one. My time at Shikara will always be really special to me, because I spent a lot of time training at Shikara and under Mike Quackenbush, both in 2012 and again in 2019. Whenever I go over there, I made sure I was in, like, very close to the Wrestle Factory, because that was my main place of training. So wrestling for Shikara was always special. I got to make my debut for Shikara in the main event of night one of King of Trios in 2018, and I got to do it with two of my best friends, Madison Eagles and Jessica Troy, and it's like, I couldn't have asked for a better debut for Shikara, which was a company that, like, growing, like, in my career, like, I never was like ambitious about getting to WWE, because when I started wrestling, like, the idea of just a random Australian girl that isn't a model getting to WWE is just laughable. So it wasn't like a thought, but wrestling for Shikara was like the goal. And so to have been able to tick that one off was really, really important to me. Gosh, the Black Label Pro, I always have to shout out to them down in Chicago, because they always looked after me so well. And I'm so excited to see them come back to wrestling, and the way that the company was growing was just so amazing. And I can't wait to be able to return to Black Label Pro, hopefully one time in my life. I don't know, who knows, because I love them. I think they're fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. And I think like one of the things I wanted to ask you as well, like, you know, we touched on it earlier, you know, when you started, you know, where women's wrestling was at and where it is now. What were some of the biggest struggles that you found early on in your career being a female, you know, in the wrestling business?
I think, look, there's a lot of sexism, but there was a lot of sexism. There still is a lot of sexism. It hasn't gone away. It's just that there's more women now, so it's harder for it to get through further into things, because we shut it down a lot quicker. But I think like the hardest thing was just the assumption that we didn't want to learn. Like there was a lot of like, well, you know how to do an X Factor and a cat fight, and that's sort of all you need to know, right? So on you go, have fun with that. Sort of that, like, or just like the idea that like we would only get booked because we're women. Like, you know, like it's all, well, we need a woman. So, you know, okay, fine, you're available, so you're on the show. Whereas now I like that the idea now is that everyone gets on the show because they deserve to be on the show, not because they're filling a quota. You know, because you need to have your 2 women in your women's match. I think it's much more appealing now where, you know, you just book the best wrestlers. And sometimes that's going to mean that there's no females on the show, and that's fine. And sometimes it's going to mean that there's more females than guys on the show, and that's also fine. It's just who is the best wrestlers that are available that can build the best card and tell the best story for the story that we're trying to create and the product that we're trying to create. And I think that's such a good positive turn in wrestling.
Yeah, and I think, you know, you mentioned the sexism as well, and you know, last year we saw the speaking out movement, which called a lot of bullshit out in the professional wrestling business, and probably forced a much needed cleanup at the time. You know, was that something that you thought, you know, this is about time that this is happening?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I'd always been very, very vocal about any like situations that had come my way, was as regarding sexual harassment within wrestling, and I'd caught a lot of flack about it. But it was always something I was very passionate about. Speaking out was something that was very much needed. It was a very exhausting experience, because it wasn't just, as someone in the business, it wasn't just, okay, we're getting rid of those people. It was then creating the processes and policies that were put in place to prevent things from that happening again. And that is a very exhausting experience thing to go through, when, you know, like you're somewhat of a victim, but you're also you're a survivor, and you're trying to make it better so that there aren't survivors. There doesn't have to be survivors later. And it was a very exhausting, like 2-3 months from like June to August or whatever. It was a lot, but we got through it. So, and I feel like we're in a much better place now. I know a lot of people will. I'm not saying that we've cleansed the business and that there's shit people are gone forever, but I think that a lot of policies have been put in place, especially within the companies that I work for. I know a lot of places have done a lot of work to create policies and procedures to prevent situations happening again, and that makes me feel a lot better for the future generations of women, because I know that what I had to go through as a female in wrestling in my generation was nowhere near as bad as what the generation before me had to go through. And I think I hope that the next generation after me just doesn't have to go through anything at all. Ideally, would be great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's quite. I think there's always going to be dickheads in any industry that you go into as well. But there's certain things that people should feel safe when they go to, whether it's work or, or a hobby or whatever it is. There has to be a level of safety for people from all walks of life, no matter sex, religion, race. It's
yes, exactly.
Turn up, just don't be a dick. That's a simple rule I have. Just be cool. But you mentioned as well, like Shimmer was like the goal, like your main sort of bucket list goal, and NXT was, or WWE was kind of like you felt was a little bit far out there for you. But you've gone there and you've been able to wrestle in NXT a couple of times. How did those opportunities come about? And like, was that just like pinch me? Like, did that really happen, sort of thing for you?
Yeah. So the first time that I wrestled for WWE NXT, I was in Florida. I was on a Shimmer trip. I was in Florida between wrestling for Shine and wrestling for Shimmer. I was in Tampa, and we were going to go to the show. It was like, I think they filmed on a Wednesday. It was Tuesday, and we were going to go to the show, like to the taping of NXT, because it was the first time we'd been over there since Jess and Cass had gotten signed. So they were going to be on the show. So we were going to go watch them. And then on the Tuesday, I got basically got the call that saying, "Oh, they want you there at 1:30 tomorrow." And I was like, "What do you mean? Like what? What talking about?" And they're like WWE wants you there at 1:30 tomorrow. Like, what do you have to wear? It's like business casual. I was like, nothing, because I'm on holidays. Like, what? I don't know. And the lady that I was staying with, Lexi 5, she like opened up her wardrobe and she was like, "Okay, I've got these earrings and this necklace. What dress do you got?" I've got like a black dress, I think. She's like, "Cool, do you have heels?" I was like, "Yeah, I have heels." She's like, "Okay, then we'll put this jacket and we'll do this and this. Okay, now you look like a professional." I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And she was like, "Also, we're still going to go to Halloween Horror Nights tonight, which gets you home at 3 a.m. And then you're going to tan at 3 a.m. and then get up and drive back to Orlando to go to WWE that you have no idea that you're doing." So, and you don't know why they want you there. Like, so it was me, Dakota Kai, and Kaylee Ray. There was like a big group of us staying there, and they wanted us three there. We had no intention. I was literally eating donuts for breakfast. Like, I was on holidays. I was hanging out in Florida, man. Not on my to-do list at all. And so then I got there, and they were like, "Oh," Antonia was like, "Oh yeah, so I think it's you and me today." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Yeah, like they said you were here," so they said that you were here, and I thought it would be really cool if we wrestled, since you were like my last match. And she was doing the Evil Emma thing, and she was like, "I think that's a good like storyline arc. So like I want to make sure they get her over on commentary and everything." And I was like, "I have no idea what's happening, mate. Sure, whatever you want. Like, I'm just hanging out. I don't know what's going on with my life right now." So the first time I was very unprepared, and that was the first time that I'd ever even, like, before that day, I had absolutely never thought about wrestling for WWE. They'd done a tryout the year before in Australia. I didn't send anything. I was like, it's just not like I don't look like a diva, and that's fine. Like, I'm not a diva, and I can accept that. It's just, that's not what it is. After I did the match with Tennille, it was actually what sparked my just obsessive behavior for the next, 5 years of trying to get signed is Taz did a podcast where he used to like review NXT. And he said something about my match. And he said something that I did. He was like, "Oh, you did the splits and then you got kicked in the face, whatever." But that didn't matter, because he was like, "This was this lady's debut match, and she was doing this." And I was like, he thinks this is my debut. Like, he thinks I work here. Like, I don't look out of place, is what I took away from it. And I was like, Taz thinks I'm like an actual employee. I could do this. And then I became obsessive and chased the dream and harass them every 6 months till they gave me a tryout, and then harass them again until they gave me more matches, and just kept harassing them until AEW started, and then I just kept harassing AEW, didn't I?
But what was the feedback following the match with Tennille? Like, were they happy with it? Did they say it needed work?
No, they were happy. They're not very they're like lots of feedback for Tennille because that's their product that they are building, and like that's what they're invested in. With me, it's like, oh, like you could have hit her a bit harder here, or like so like they don't really care. Like I'm just there, like, and which is fine. Like,
yeah,
you know, I'll do whatever you want, mate. Like I'm on TV. I don't care.
Yeah.
So like they were a lot more focused on her feedback, and they were just like, yep, cool, you did great. And I was like, cool, all right, on I go with my life.
So was there ever a discussion of bringing you in for something more permanent there?
So there were both times that they did the Mae Young Classic, there was discussions leading into that. And then they obviously went with the younger two blonde Australians, which was a better financial choice, which I like. I think the second time around they were thinking of not having Demi and Tony in it a second time around. But then once they decided that they were going to use them again, it was like, we don't need a third blonde Australian, which fine. I'm not offended by that.
Sure.
I understand. I would also hire Demi and Tony over me. So there was talk within that. But like that was like, it was never talk of like a contract or anything, but there was like, they constantly tell you you're on our radar. Keep doing, keep working, keep blah, blah, blah. You're on our radar. And it's just the same thing over and over again. But you know, it strings people along for years, and then eventually you just get done with it. And then AEW comes along and you think, oh wait, there's more options in the world, so you don't control me anymore. So
how did you find the differences between AEW and NXT?
It's a completely different universe. Like with AEW, because I'd only ever done extras work at WWE. I remember I got my full hair, makeup done. I was dressed to the fucking nines, and I showed up for All Out, and everyone else was just in their fucking tracksuits. And I was like, sorry guys, I thought we were doing this because this is what we normally like. This is what I've been trained to do. We have to show up and look like a star. They were like, no, we don't do that here. And I was like, thanks for the heads up, guys.
So you rocked up all professional, got the deal done.
I was the tits were out, the hair was up, the makeup was on, I was ready to go. And they were like, oh yeah, no, we're just here to hang. And I was like, okay, cool. Maybe your heads up, guys. But like, it was fine. Like, I mean, dress for the job you want and not the job you have. So, you know, you dress to impress.
100%. You know, and, you know, as far as now, you know, with the Australian wrestling, you know, PWA, you know, prior to the pandemic relaunching itself again, you know, you guys were sort of starting to put on some amazing shows. And obviously you being a coach there at PWA, you know, I've had the opportunity to speak to a lot of the performers there, and everyone sort of speaks very highly of yourself and as well as the other coaches there. But as far as, you know, in your opinion, who are some of the shining stars that are coming through PWA that, you know, us as wrestling fans should really be keeping an eye out for?
I think Reese Angel is like going to be a star one day. Soon, not one day, but soon he will be a star. Him and Jimmy Townsend. Oh my God, honestly, like there's so many talented people. Like Kingsley, she's already a star. It's already so. There's like in our dingoes, I can't wait for the dingoes to like graduate from their dingo academy and become characters of their own, because I think they're going to be so much fun and entertaining. I can't wait for you guys to all see David Streamer in his full character. Cherry Stevens, obviously, she's phenomenal. Like she just one of those. Like Cherry Stevens and Reese Angels are two people that like they showed up on like the first day, and like we like all looked at each other and were like, yeah, like these ones they're gonna make it. Like they're the stars. Like you can tell. Like you can tell when people show up and you're like, okay, but you can tell when someone shows up and you're like, oh, like this, like they're gonna make it. Like they're stars. And I remember when Cherry Stevens had her first match at an academy show, we had like a coaches group chat, and we all like messaged each other and we were like, we did good. And we were like, yeah, we're so proud. So I hope she sees this. She won't, but maybe she will.
Yeah, like I really enjoy like her comedic timing, which I thought was like, because when I had her on, I was surprised. I thought she'd had like a background in like drama or theater or comedy, but like, because her comedic timing is perfect.
She's just hilarious. She's just such a like hilarious human being. Like she's always hilarious. Like just always love her.
Oh, and look, I think that, you know, there's a lot of talent in PWA, and you mentioned the Green Dingoes, you know, in the last Academy show, you know, you got to wrestle one of the Green Dingoes that you guys have been sort of going back and forth with. And, it really just shows that having those sort of shows and putting, you know, some of the veterans up against, you know, these people coming up, it really gives them a chance to shine and have that opportunity to be on shows with, you know, experienced talent as well.
Well, yeah, like I think you always like, you get better when you're working with people above your like level. Like you like and even and if you're above the level, you learn how to bring people up to your level. And it's like, so there's two different skills and two ways that both people learn from those experiences when there's like a difference in experience level. So like I learn whenever I'm working with some of the newer people, like it teaches me and it makes me think about how I'm going to bring them up and, you know, hide any of their flaws and, you know, accentuate their strengths. And then for them, it gives them a chance to, I'm talking like I'm some big shot, gives them a chance to come up and work with someone a bit higher and like not at the same level, and sort of see how like my brain works and when I'm like figuring out matches and stuff like that.
Oh, of course, because I'm sure that like there's veterans that have one way of doing things and others have the other, and I suppose the the newer generation, I should say, gets that opportunity to sort of gain from multiple different people and see what works well for them.
Yes, and that's the biggest. Like wrestling is so subjective, and like, you know, like you can, like I always try to learn from everyone that I can learn from, because even if like I learn 500 different ways to do an arm drag, one of those ways is going to be the way that works for me. And like, so you can never be taught like, and as long as all 500 of those ways are not dangerous and no one's getting hurt, then like they're all valid ways. So like, it's a weird analogy, but I hope that makes sense.
No, absolutely. But guys, it is that time of the show for us to play 60 seconds with Piers. We have briefed Shazza on this. We've told her the details on how this is going to go down. Shazza, when you're ready, how this is going to work, I'm going to ask you some random questions. You're going to have 60 seconds to answer these questions. But Shazza, when you're ready, you let me know and we'll get the game started.
60 seconds for all the questions or 60 seconds per question?
60 seconds for all the questions.
Okay,
They're going to be rapid fire.
All right. Woo. Okay, yep, let's go.
Want some water?
Go. No, it's
all right, let's go.
Going.
Instagram or Twitter?
Instagram.
TikTok or Snapchat?
TikTok. Snapchat's no girl ever wants to be messaged on Snapchat. That's trash.
In 5 minutes, you're being shipped to outer space. What two personal belongings do you take with you?
My phone and Jordan.
Favorite song to sing in the car?
Oh, fuck. There's this song by Taylor Swift. I can't. Better Than Revenge. That's what it's called. Better Than
What
Revenge.
What is the weirdest thing you have eaten?
Oh, fuck. No, I don't eat weird shit. I just eat chicken, beef, my veg, and some bread. I'm not fancy. I'm not eating weird shit at all.
What would your autobiography be called?
I got asked this in a job interview once, and I said that it would be called "You Don't Know What You Don't Know." I don't know what it actually would be called, but that sounded really good in a job interview, and it got me the job. So,
which actor would play you in a movie based on your life?
Kristen Bell.
If you could wear only one color to the ring for the rest of your career, I'm going to say it's pink, but what color would it
be? Pink.
Okay, so would you rather win $10 million or live for twice as long?
$10 million. What?
5-star hotel or camping?
Hotel.
Would you rather be 4'5" or 7'7"?
4'5".
If Shazza came with a warning label, what would it say?
Does say dumb things.
What is your favorite meal to cook?
The only thing I know how to cook is pasta.
There you go. Time. That is 60 seconds with Piers. Shazza, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. It's been great getting this opportunity to sit down with you for an hour and talking. Anytime you want to come and do it again, there's an open invitation to have you back on anytime. But Shazza, where can people find you on social media? Where can people find some Shazza merch as well?
So on Twitter and Instagram, I'm at Shazza_McKenzie. The best way to support me is via Patreon. So patreon.com/Shazza McKenzie. There's exclusive content up there, photo shoots, live streams, random shit every day. I don't know. It's just part of my life. There's an Instagram feed and stuff. Please, guys, we're in a pandemic. We're locked down. It's the best way to support me. Join my Patreon. Also, merchandise is shazzamckenzie.bigcartel.com for all my 8x10s and stuff. T-shirts, you can go to Wrestler Merch in Australia, Pro Wrestling Tees in America, and Merch Girl UK if you're in the UK, because I am a woman of the people.
There you go. Shazza's everywhere, guys. So make sure you go and follow Shazza on all social media. Buy some Shazza merch. But guys, as well, just want to give a special thanks to our sponsors, the Wrestling Universe, the place for all of your pro wrestling merchandise needs. Go and check them out. That's the Wrestling Universe. Also, if you're in the Queens, New York, they have some amazing signings coming up, so make sure to check them out. Also, healthvape.com. Use promo code MWAPOD to get 10% discount on their healthy vaping alternative products. And also sleeps.com. Use promo code MWAPOD there to also get 10% off your final purchase on all your athletic wear. But guys, this Thursday, make sure you tune in because Kiwi, aka Alan Funk, is going to be on with his show Get Funked, and he's going to have an amazing guest on. So make sure you tune in for that one. And also Killing the Business on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Australian time, and Nights of the Gimmick Table as well with the Dead President. So make sure you check out those 3 shows as well, guys. But until next time, I'm Piers. This is Shazza, and we'll see you again soon. Peace.